All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Raptors Report podcast. I am Julian. I am joined once again by Steve. And as you can see, Steve has the green screen working. So it's two floating heads and we're ready to go. Every week, we want to make things a little bit better. And even though that might be incredibly slow and incremental, we're getting there. Okay. So eventually, like maybe a year from now, it's going to be like futuristic. We're going to have all sorts of graphics and all of that. But yeah, we're here. We're ready to talk about some fun stuff because we have a really exciting menu for you guys today to talk about. We are going to be talking about the Toronto Raptors Summer League and basically what the Toronto Raptors, the Summer League team, has been able to accomplish. It's incredible. I have been blown away. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the main thing is the defense intensity is off the charts. Right now, they're looking like, I mean, I think the next two games are easier than the last two games, and I mean, it's looking like championship bound, hopefully.
Yeah, a Summer League championship. Have the Raptors ever won a Summer League championship? I feel like they've gotten close or
I feel like, but yeah, not to my memory, and I feel like every year we get like really excited about the teams that we're like, oh, maybe this could be, and then we just get like killed by some random role player. But so far, so good.
yeah, and speaking of getting killed by a random role player, the Toronto Raptors have that guy. And we're going to be talking about that in this episode because, yeah, the Toronto Raptors are blessed by some Summer League vets and the best Summer League vet. And the results may surprise you because the Toronto Raptors have the best Summer League player this time around. And we'll get to him. But before we do, I just kind of want to talk about the team in general, because the team has been doing some stuff that is pretty remarkable, especially on the defensive end. The Raptors, Summer League Raptors, are definitely the most disruptive team in this year's Summer League, and definitely one of the most disruptive teams I've seen in a long time. And obviously, a lot of that is to do with the fact that they're going up against other Summer League teams, maybe teams that aren't as used to playing with one another. And so the defensive intensity that they're playing with, I think, is taking a lot of teams by surprise and is really throwing people for a loop. What has kind of stood out to you in terms of what the Raptors are doing on the defensive end?
Yeah, I mean, like they're a bunch of dogs is really what it is, right? And if you look at the other team's ability to feel comfortable, somebody like I think Jace Richardson last game had a pretty good game, but somebody like him who's a pretty comfortable ball handler, right off the first whistle, he's just the intensity's on him. He's now considering his dribble, he's turning his back, they're just on the hands. Guys like CMB on the hands, Chomche breaking stuff up in the middle, just just you're getting pounced on every time you try to get across. They got an 8-second violation the first game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. By guess who? I believe it was Jamal Shed, right? He was the one
was
who,
yeah.
and he's the king of forcing 8-second violations. Those
He
are
really
kind of
is
his bread and butter.
because he moves
Um,
his feet. Yeah.
So I put together some of the more impressive summer league defensive highlights, and I'll just play some of them and describe some of them because Steve can't see them, but I'll give him I'll make sure that he's getting informed while I'm doing it. So let's just take a look at some of these defensive highlights because they are pretty unbelievable. So the first one was when they were pressuring up half court. This was against the Orlando Magic, and Chucky Hepburn almost forced a turnover, and then Lawson blocked the shot, and then they swung the ball around. They ran out of time basically, and had to force up a brick. And Mobo got the offensive rebound. But like that one is a really interesting one because Chucky Hepburn is one of the guys who has been, leapt out and sort of put his mark on the game with his defensive intensity. He's one of the guys that is that pesky defenders. And as you can see, he's just hounding people. Him and Jonathan Mobo, just a whole bunch of players are really amping up the defensive intensity. The second one, as you can see, a good contest there, but there's Chucky Hepburn again. He basically stripped the ball and drew a foul, just poking the ball loose. Really good defensive play there. And then probably the most impressive one, I think, was just this the defensive possession by Jamal Shed here, where he catches a player, they all converge and steal the ball, get the ball ahead to Jacoby Walter for the slam dunk. But that's just like a sampling of some of the better defensive plays that I've seen, just going through the game highlights. Pretty hard to get like a full game highlight. It's not like a lot of the other NBA games where you can go through the entire game and sort of see every possession. You kind of have to pick and choose. But thankfully, the people who were putting together the highlight packages really enjoyed what the Raptors were doing on defense, because they showed a lot of really good defensive possessions there. But I think a lot of it is the team. Like, the team itself is just a bunch of dogs.
Yeah, it seems like that's the MO that they're trying to push for this bench, which I love, because I've always thought that your bench should have somewhat of a separate identity, like a cohesive schemes and everything, but typically they're less talented players, so they should probably play different than the starters. And what we're getting to see in the summer league is for the most part, our bench, right? With you're adding Grady and you're adding kind of Ochai in there, but for the most part, it's the bench. And I like the way that they're developing this different identity that's going to come into a game and just smack you in the mouth immediately. There was a couple plays, like there was one that wasn't shown there where CMB forces a bit of a turnover and Jacoby Walter immediately hits the deck for the loose ball. I think they turned it and went the other way with it after that, or maybe they tied him up and got the foul, but everybody is doing the dirty work. And that's exactly what you need from every one of your bench players, because you can't lose those minutes. The margins are very slim, especially when you've got a couple players on the starting lineup who aren't like dog defenders in the same way. So you might be giving up a few points there, and it's good to get that bench unit to come in and just establish a different kind of defensive identity.
Absolutely. And yeah, what you say about having players who kind of have a different identity, that's definitely a big thing. I think your bench should be giving you energy and should be trying, like, I feel like the starting lineup, the role players in the starting lineup have to kind of play off of the stars. And so maybe they have to take like a less engaged role. Whereas on the bench, you want guys who are just going to make an instant impact. And I feel like that is kind of what the bench is doing, or excuse me, just the whole team is doing in the summer league, is that they're getting after it. So I love to see that. And the guy that we are going to talk about right now, because the Toronto Raptors have the best player in this year's summer league. And I'll bring up a graphic here, because it is actually very interesting that the Toronto Raptors, somebody put together, I think it was Hoops Hype. Hoops Hype put together this kind of pretty cool list of players who have made the biggest impact in the summer league so far. So let me just take a look at that here. We'll just switch over to the list here. And if you can't see the whole list, I'll just zoom out slightly. Hold on a second. Let me just fix this, and then I'll do it again because it's a little too small, but there we go. And then we'll put it back over again. And if you can see right at the top there, we have none other than Canadian homegrown Raptors legend AJ Lawson, who obviously played a lot of minutes for the big club last season when, the team was tanking. They wanted to take a look at some of the other players that were on the roster, some of the two-way guys. He came in, gave them a burst of energy, and he has been easily the best player on the Summer League Raptors. And as you can see here, considered the best player in the tournament so far. And he's like a Summer League vet. I don't know if you know this, but he went during the broadcast. They did an interview with him, and he's like, this is like his 5th Summer League or something like that, or like maybe it's his 4th, or it was a lot. So what have you seen from AJ Lawson that has impressed you?
Yeah, I mean his scoring right off the bat, he was very efficient last game. He got to the line a lot of times, and even I was thinking during those defensive highlights you showed, the recovery he did when the player actually got behind the defense.
Yeah.
He's acting as kind of one of their main scorers and one of their main shooters, yet still giving that same energy on the defense, which is exactly what he needs to try to make the big club and try to earn minutes with that. I've been very impressed with that. He really is trying to make his case to be on the team. Graphic showed I mean, he's one day away from being 25 apparently.
Yes.
So it should be a happy birthday for him at Summer League when he's doing one of the best in the tournament, well, the best in the tournament technically. Um, so yeah, I've just been really impressed with it. It's what I expected of him being a Summer League vet. I thought that he would be either 1A or 1B of the scorers on the team. That's hopefully what you expect from a guy like that. But a guy who hasn't found his entire place yet in the league, it's still really good to see that he's coming with that same energy, coming with that same effort, and he's taking nothing for granted. He's like, even though he got minutes with the big club, he's not thinking, okay, I got a spot. He's out there, he's fighting for a spot, he's battling, and I just love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some pretty cool highlights of his that I put together. Basically, a lot of what he's been doing has been, shooting the ball really well. Playing in transition has been a big thing for him. He's been able to play really solid defense as well. He's part of the guys who are giving it 110% on the defensive end, excuse me. And as you can see, there's that really nice left to right crossover that just let him get right into the lane. Let me put that in slow motion because I think that that's one of the um, best highlights that I saw from him. Was he caught the ball, he was on the catch, going to the basket. Very nice left to right crossover, just completely loses his man. I think it was Anthony Black, and then just goes straight to the rim, lays it up and in. And here's one of those plays. Is this the right clip here? Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the just him catching and shooting another three, making that. But he has been, very efficient, very, kind of what you would expect from a 5-year summer league vet. He's clearly got some talent. He averaging 21 and a half points per game, over 5 rebounds, around 2.5 assists. He's not like that much of a playmaker, but he's instant offense. I called him Summer League T-Mac because, he's a little taller. He's got some ball handling, but obviously the Summer League version, kind of like the Kirkland or, dollar store version of T-Mac. But I'm pretty happy with what I've seen from him. Obviously, we're kind of burying the lead here. We need to talk about, there's one gentleman that didn't get to play in the first game. He did get to make his debut in a Raptors jersey, albeit a Summer League Raptors jersey. Collin Murray-Boyles made his debut, and I thought it was a good game from him. He didn't start that way, but he definitely ended it that way. What did you see from CMB that, made you take notice?
I think the defense was as advertised, as expected. He got his hands on a lot of balls. He had, did he have 4 blocks? I can't remember. Or
He
maybe it
had
was
four stocks.
four
Yeah,
stocks.
he had a
Yeah,
bunch of steals. I think he only had that one block, but
right. But defensive playmaking, as was expected. I think he got clipped pretty hard. Like they clipped his air ball 3 that he had.
yeah,
He shot it pretty long, but
I mean, I had to react to that on Twitter, but yeah, I didn't clip the air ball, but I did clip the really good sequence where he got the block and then he went down to the other end and got the offensive putback dunk. That was a really, really nice play. That kind of made me take notice. And then the really cool play here was the one that you were describing, where he managed to get the steal and he hit the deck. and then got it back to Jacoby Walter. He sort of passed it ahead. He has really good hands. That's
He
pretty
does, yeah.
much. It was actually AJ Lawson who got the ball back and then got fouled on the other end. But his hands are huge. His hands are amazing. And one of my favorite plays that I saw was when they tried to pass the ball over his head, and he just swatted it out of the air, and
Yeah.
then they got the ball back. I thought that was a really cool play. It kind of reminded me of the play that you thought was the best play that you saw, the highlight package from
His
last
snap,
episode.
his snatch steal, yeah.
Very similar in that, you know, they think that they can get it because he's so close. The reaction time isn't going to be quick enough to get the ball, but yeah, his reflexes.
His
Wow.
anticipation is crazy. And it reminds me a lot of, I don't know how much Jamal Shed film like from college that you watched when we drafted him, but Shed did a lot of playing up on his man and reacting like in an instant to get steals and to get those like two hand swats and stuff.
Yeah.
Same kind of reaction time, except in a much bigger frame, which I think is a lot more impressive. And it's just like creating so much problems for the ball handler. He's I think I don't know if it was that play or the next, but basically whoever got the ball back in front of him might have been Wendell Moore Jr. or whoever it was.
Hmm.
They they took two dribbles and passed it out. They were like, I'm not testing it. I'm not gonna try to force a pass over him. They learned their lesson. And I think like that's where he starts to really win minutes when he has fear struck into them of, okay, I'm not even gonna try to get past this guy because he's gonna make a defensive play.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely like he has the size and the, you know, the hands and the foot speed. Like he has all of the ingredients that you want from a defender. Maybe not like he doesn't have center size, I would say, but
Yeah,
he.
and he doesn't have like he has plus length. Like he's got
Mhm.
like a 7 foot wingspan, but it's nothing like it's not crazy like Herb Jones or Scotty or whatever, but it's still length and he still uses it quite well.
Yeah, that's the thing is that a lot of the time, like you have to have the tools, but then again, you have to know how to use the tools. And I feel like he has the tools to work with. They're not the best tools, but it's not like he's missing something where you're like, okay, if he only had this or that, then he could do it. He does have all of those ingredients. Yeah, the reflexes, hand-eye coordination, those have stuck out to me, I think, and the game sense,
Yeah.
just the ability to utilize what he has. So very impressed with that. And then one thing that showed up, and they unfortunately, as I mentioned, you can't really get the full game, not highlights, but the full game. So I wasn't able to clip the three that he made that didn't count because he did swish like no
Yeah.
rim right in a 3 point make. And the thing is that it was too far out because he stepped on the line and it didn't count. But he made the three, and you know it counted. As I said on Twitter, it counted in my heart, and really, that's all that matters.
And if you notice his first miss was long, right? And this is a problem that I don't know if you noticed last season that Scotty Barnes really had with his shot is he shoots it long. He would hit more of these where he's an extra step back. He was hitting a lot more because he's shooting it strong every time. And I think maybe right now, one of Colin's issues is that he might be shooting it a bit strong. So being a step back might actually work for him, just not too far of a step back that it's out of bounds.
Yeah,
But mainly I think his issue with shooting is it's if you watch him take 10 shots, you kind of watch him take seven different shots. The consistency of the form has to be there. I don't see a consistent broken part of it necessarily, but it's hard to dial your shot in to be consistent, and that's really what it's going to take to get to where they need him to be as a shooter. But it was definitely nice to see and probably really nice for him mentally. You know, a player needs to see that go in to have that mental impact on. That's why everybody takes a shot after the buzzer when they can to try to see it go in or a
right.
timeout, everything, right?
Yeah, it's all experiential.
Yeah,
It's about having the reps, having the ability, like the confidence, all of that stuff blends together. And I'm not displeased by the look of the shot. Obviously, the air ball is not what you want to see, and that's the one thing that people will kind of remember about his shooting, at least. And
Yeah, nobody clipped the out of bounds shot, unfortunately.
no, boo. Okay, well, I mean, I was impressed. I think as advertised, he is a super defender, or a really impactful defender, really smart player. The ability. Also, another thing, we'll mention this quickly. He did have a lot of rebounds in this game. He had some offensive rebounds. He has a nose for the ball. I think that when you have the size, you have the motor, and you have the smarts and kind of like the ability to read a game, you're going to know where to go, how to get to the ball, and you're going to beat other people to the glass. And he did that. His rebounding was good. He got 7 rebounds in that game. I am just thinking that right now, at least for next season, is that we're going to be looking at just a good role player. I think that that's a good way to earn minutes. I think that that's a way to get on the coach's good side, is show that you're willing to do the non-scoring stuff. And then as you earn minutes, you gain the trust of your teammates and coach, you're going to be able to get reps and the ability to get shots up. I'm sure that there will be a lot of plays where they kick the ball to him and he's going to be able to shoot the ball. I'm sure there's going to be plays where he's able to handle the ball, show that off. Oh, and that reminds me, he had another thing that I wasn't able to clip just because, again, no full game, broadcast. He had a really nice dribble sequence in the open court. So he's kind of like a big size, like a larger forward. And so I think that when you just glance at him, you're going to think, oh, there's a big bringing the ball up the floor. Time cookies, right? Time to grab the ball from this guy. It's going to be easy. And what I saw from him was a really nice behind the back dribble to a guy tried to grab a steal off of him, went right past him, and he was able to get into the lane. It was like a really, really, really nice sequence. So that is another thing that I think is he's going to be able to show off, is a very good handle for a player his size. So just thought I'd mention that because that was something that I saw from him last game.
Yeah, and I think that's very promising because when you look at Scotty Barnes's rookie season, once teams started to recognize that he couldn't really shoot that much, they started to play drop on him like 5, 6 feet back, and he didn't trust his handle enough to go, okay, I'm going to take it in the paint. I think Collin's a different story. He trusts his handle decently,
Yeah.
right? So he's not afraid to go face up. If he gets a mismatch with a guard, he's going to be able to bully them probably to the net. And if he gets a mismatch with a big, as long as it's not somebody freakish like Mobley or Jaren Jackson Jr., he'll be able to probably blow past them to an extent to maybe get a shot. But you're right, being a super role player should be his role. You've got other guys on the bench, like if Grady's coming off the bench, he's going to be a guy that's looked at more for scoring. Sandro on the bench, he's going to be looked at more for shooting. The offense won't necessarily be suffering if you're not getting a ton of shots from CMB in his rookie season. So again, playing that super role player, hitting the glass, like if I remember correctly, he was maybe 5th in the SEC in rebounds. He's an incredible rebounder.
Yeah.
And that's a plus skill that he'll be able to add to the unit. His defense will be a plus skill. I think he could be a really plus player off the bench without a massive scoring impact. And I think a game like this, 8 point a game, maybe 10 point a game, maybe something that we should be expecting from him.
Yeah, as long as he gets consistent minutes,
Yeah.
and the road to that is very easy. Well, I mean, it's not easy, but it's simple. You got to play defense. You got to do all
The
the
things
role
that
player
he's
stuff.
good at and used to.
Exactly.
So, yeah, for him, it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of just be you and you'll get minutes.
Right. Let's just take a quick look here. So Kirthika, if you know her, she is on big personality on Raptors Twitter. She is kind of the stat lady for the Toronto
She,
Raptors.
she's got the fun stats that aren't so fun.
Well, some of this one's pretty fun. So I just put up on the screen. I forgot to mention this because this was should have been mentioned when we were talking about the team in general, but we'll talk about it now. So the Raptors are 2-0 in Vegas through 2 games. They forced opponents into 63 turnovers and scored 84 points off of those turnovers and combined for 51 points on the break. So those are like crazy numbers. Obviously, the ball pressure strategy that they're using has worked for them. It has been really impressive what they've been able to do, turning teams over. I love watching this. I don't know about you, but for me, I love those plays where you can watch a player, or maybe not one player, maybe the whole team, give it their all. Like play
Yeah.
with some heart. Even though it's the summer league, you know that these guys are motivated to make an impression. And maybe if Chucky Hepburn doesn't make it with the Toronto Raptors, because, this is a pretty stacked team and there are a lot of players that are looking for minutes at the guard and wing spot, maybe he makes an impact and shows to some other team, hey, I can be that spark plug guy who comes in and plays a lot of pesky defense off of the bench. So
Yeah,
really
I mean,
impressed with that.
for sure with Chucky. I think he's on a two-way, right? So I hope at least we're able to keep him in the system and have him
Right.
maybe run the show in the 905. That would be great.
Yep.
Um, and like my personal favorite thing to watch is effort. The way that I'll write a player off is when they're not showing that effort consistently, but the way that I'll get behind a player is if they're just an effort guy who is
Exactly.
always giving his all. So it was really fun to watch this. I do want to mention and give some recognition to Elijah Martin.
Right.
Better first game than second game. He only hit like 1 of 7 on second game, but he was still a plus 14. He was a
Yeah.
team high plus 14. That's effort. His defense has been amazing. He had probably one of the best dunks of summer league in his first game.
Yeah.
His vertical pop is crazy for a guy who's 6'2".
He also had that missed dunk that was like really
Yeah,
sick. He
he almost
almost
ended
got,
that guy.
by the way, did you see the Furphy dunk?
I did not. I saw the tweet about it, but
Oh
I think it
my
was on
God.
a Senge, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was on Noah Senge.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, Buzelis went in for a steal. He did a behind the back crossover, uh, sliced into the lane, and then did like the what's the James Johnson dunk? You know, the one that he got Drummond with? It was that.
Cock that back and bang
He
it.
he he got full extension and
Yeah,
and posterized him. It was insane.
as a 6'2" guy, it's crazy.
Is it he? I think he's bigger than that. I think he's like 6'6", 6'7", is he not?
Sorry. You're talking
Furphy?
about. Oh, you're talking about Furphy. Okay,
Is
my bad.
Furphy
My
six
bad.
two? No, no, it's okay.
No, he's 6'6" or so.
So maybe James Johnson, the wily vet for the Pacers, showed
Right.
the young bucks some stuff.
He is there, vet. I forgot. That's so funny.
Yeah, you got to check it out after this. But before we do that, let's take a look at something, because we got to talk about another guy that maybe I was not as convinced. I was hopeful but not convinced. I'm going to show you guys a pretty encouraging and intriguing little stat here. So it's from Hoops Hype. It's the same thing that they were showing with AJ Lawson, uh, where he was the best player in the summer league. Well, he didn't show up on the all summer league team, but the second best player for the Toronto Raptors is none other than the very young Ulrich Chomche, who has been really good, really, really good for the Toronto Raptors. I have been very impressed with his composure, and as you can see, he has been, he's scoring 9.5 points a game, 5 rebounds. His rebounding has been good, but this is a per minute stat, so it rates your overall impact. And he has been, according to them, the second best player on the Raptors. And I would have to say that it kind of matches the eye test as well. So what have your impressions been on Ulrich? And what do you think about him?
I was huge on Ulrich pre-draft. Um, Once I saw a little bit out of his NBA Africa stuff, I was just, or his Academy Africa, I was so impressed at his athleticism And he was shooting the three at the time. So I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's 6'11". He's shooting threes. Okay, this is very exciting. And I was hoping that the Raptors would be able to grab him. I'm shocked that we were able to grab him at 57, because a lot of people saw him as, okay, he's a project. I've been pretty adamant that I think he's going to be quicker along in his process than people would expect. I was worried that that injury would have derailed him, but he's back in summer league and he's looked fantastic. I think I tweeted something about, imagine working your whole life to be in the NBA and you get a chance to score, and then Ulrich Chomche is just waiting in the paint. Like, he is such a good disruptor. His hand eye is amazing. He was third last year in the G League in blocks, behind a guy who was 7'5" and a guy who's like 23 years old.
Who's the
Uh,
7'5" guy?
uh, uh,
Okay, sorry to put you
I
on the
can't.
spot.
No,
It's okay.
it's okay. He's crazy, and the Raptors brought him in for a workout last year, and I was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna get this monster? But yeah, he doesn't have much offensive game to him, but he blocks a lot of shots because he's huge. But yeah, just very thrilled to see Chomche back. Hasn't lost a step athletically. I still think he's one of the fastest players in the league. He kind of hits turbo mode when he's on the break, and the way he can close space. I think it was from the first game, I want to say, maybe it was the second game, where there was a broken play and Chomche was guarding somebody in the corner, and he recovers all the way back to the basket to contest, and he makes the stop. And you don't even see him in the screen when the pass goes there, and he makes up that ground. Very, very happy from what I've seen from Chomche. He's disruptive, and then his offensive game is further along than even I expected.
Yes, that's the thing. Okay, so there's
Yeah,
two things. Sorry to cut you off because
no
I'm
worries.
getting excited here. First of all, we got to talk about the size. Chomche, he's a big guy. So this isn't just a normal 6'11". He has a very long wingspan, and it's very notable every time you see him on the court. He's much bigger than his listed height. His shoulders very broad. He does not look like he has really completely matured. Like, he doesn't have the extreme musculature of like a 6 or 7 year pro where a guy has been able to get into the gym and stay in there for, enough time to get like huge muscles. But the guy still looks really big. That's a really good sign. The fact that he can move his feet. Another thing is that he is the smarts. The game is not moving too fast for him. That is one of the biggest things whenever I evaluate a big, is that you have to look at like their processing, because a lot of the time bigs are they're in the league, or they're on the radar because they're big. It's not because necessarily they know exactly how to play the game. So you want to make sure that the guy is a player that's going to be able to process things at the NBA level. What I've seen from him in this summer league has been extremely encouraging. In the highlight package that I showed, he made a lot of very, very nice passes. So let's just go through that again. So the first one is where he catches it up in the at the 3-point line. Let me just slow that down a little bit again. And just for you, Steve, I'll just describe the play. So he catches the ball. He's got his back turned to the basket at the 3-point line, and they run just a simple cut through the lane, and he gets it to Jacoby Walter, slashing to the basket. Pinpoint pass right on the hands. He lays it up and in. So he catches it, and now this could be seen as either a good sign or a bad sign, depending on which you think. So Chomche catches the ball right in the key, and he sort of hesitates. It looks like he was thinking about a push shot, but then he decides not to. He sees that Mobo's man is cheating off of him to help out against Chomche, and he manages to hit Mobo, who goes the opposite side, which I thought was like just a really good read. He noticed that Mobo's man wasn't guarding him, and he got it to him. This one was a really encouraging play because it showed his foot speed, and it showed his ability to, he reads the play properly. He knows that they're running a screen action where the guard is going to come up and try and catch the inbounds. He manages to sniff that out, and he goes and just gets the ball. He grabs the pass, and he kind of bobbles it in the open court, but he manages to recover and get it in, which I thought that was really nice. And this one, okay, so this one is one of the things that I've noticed is that he has done a really good job of sealing his man in the post very low under the basket. And I feel like with the practice that the Raptors have had, they've noticed, his teammates have noticed this, and they trust him down there. They are getting him the ball in these low post scenarios. And this one, he manages to hit a fading hook shot, which, it looked pretty, it looked good. He had a couple of those plays. So it's not just that play. He had a number of low post seals where he was really just able to use his size, carve out that space under the basket, exactly what you want to see. Work off the ball. Make sure, use your strength and your size to carve out position under the basket where you have the advantage. Then his team got him the ball, and then just a couple of nice soft finishes. And that's the one criticism that I have when I mention soft finishes, because he's big, he's athletic, he has long arms. One of my criticisms has been that if you are that big, that strong, that long, and you're right under the basket, you got to dunk it. You got to dunk the ball. In that specific highlight, I think that the fading hook shot was the right play. I don't think he was close enough. He was too tightly guarded. But in a lot of scenarios, it's just gonna it'll probably come to him as long as he has that fire inside. I think he's gonna dunk more. But that's the only criticism I really have of him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. If you look at how Jonathan Mobo has been significantly more successful in this summer league, it's been because he's just dunking everything. He's just taking advantage of his size and dunking everything. So hopefully Chomche can take after that. And yeah, like there's still like slight little lapses, but I just think he's so far ahead of where he was last summer league. Like I think people like to retell that his shoe came untied, whatever, and he tried to get the ref to like stop play for like 4 possessions or something, expecting that they would stop play for him to tie his shoe or put his shoe back on. Like he was very green to the game, and
Yeah.
it's a really nice step to where he is now. And he hasn't shown it yet. I would like in the next couple of games for him to get a couple of threes up, because I do think that he will shoot it. I was going through some old combine stuff, didn't know that I mean, take it with a grain of salt, it's just combine, right? But he matched Jared McCain and Zachary Rieschischer's like 48%, whatever they shot in the star drill, the 5.3 point star drill.
Yeah.
And you don't do that by accident. That's relocation shooting and hitting threes. And at Basketball Academy, he shot 38%. It was only like a 3-4 game sample, whatever it was, but he can shoot. And I'm hoping that they take advantage of giving him a couple reps, because those reps won't really be there if he's up with the big club. I don't foresee them giving him catch and shoot opportunities. And even the one play you pointed out of him stealing very low, you see the space that he has there, because you had Lawson, Chucky, Elijah, and Battle on the floor, who are all shooters.
Right.
Gave him a lot of space. Up with the big club, if he's playing with any of the starters, they probably won't get that same kind of space, and it'll be a lot more clunky. But if he plays physical, as you were saying, those low seals, he can probably take advantage of a couple guys. Very promising stuff from Ulrich. Very happy, very happy.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, when it comes to like sealing in the post, a lot of the time that's mismatch stuff, right? Because when you watch a game, especially if the team like the Raptors are probably going to try and get out in transition a lot. And one of the things is that sometimes when you get out in transition, one of the benefits of it is that maybe they are able to stop you. But what happens is that there is a mismatch, right? You have to pick up whoever you're next to in a semi-transition state. So if he runs the floor, maybe he's matched up against a guard or a smaller forward, and he can get that low post seal off of the mismatch. I could easily see him getting that kind of stuff. And then,
Definitely.
Either you force a rotation, you force somebody to come over, and then you can make a pass, or you just punish use your size and your broad shoulders to get in there and finish. I'm very encouraged. And of course, I mean, everything we're saying here, I don't want anybody to think that we're like these huge homers and we're like, this means he's going to make it in the NBA and he's
Yeah,
he's he's a
it's still summer
surefire.
league.
It's summer league. We're just giving you our thoughts, and we're fans. We're getting excited just like you guys are watching these guys play. And of course, some of the success that we're seeing here is because of the level of competition, etc., etc. But it is worth pointing out that Chomche is still one of the youngest players that will be playing if he makes it into the NBA in the NBA next season, because he was the youngest player in last year's draft. He is still really green, really learning the ropes, very young. So seeing him take these steps, I was expecting purely raw, like no skill, limited understanding of the game. So from that perspective, I've been impressed. I'm not saying it's a slam dunk, but you know, I'm encouraged. Just want to put that out there. Okay, Steve, I got a bone to pick with you. Okay,
Yeah.
you've been talking bad about my guy, RJ Barrett, and I have never said anything bad about RJ.
Never.
Never. We're going to be doing a little thing right now where we take two sides of an issue that has been talked about on Raptors Twitter, Raptors social media, among fans. Because let's be honest, everybody loves to talk trade. Everybody loves to talk, players that they like, players that they don't like on the team. There's one player that has dominated the conversation when it comes to trades, dominated the conversation when it comes to love him or hate him. The guy I'm talking about is obviously RJ Barrett, the Canadian son, is from Mississauga. Is that right?
I think he's from Toronto, but
Well, okay. Well, GTA.
basically the same. Yeah.
He grew up in our stomping ground here, so we should be charitable. That's what I've been saying. But Steve, he doesn't want to listen. He thinks that RJ should be traded. And of course, he's going to take the devil's advocate position. Well, maybe he sees some truth in it, but let's hear your case for why the Toronto Raptors should trade RJ Barrett.
Yeah, I might make some enemies here, but I have to tell it how it is. I think personality wise, love him. Everybody on the team loves him. He's a great teammate. No one is disputing that. But a lot has been made about his contract. When he got here, they called him a toxic asset. I think that was wrong. I think he's been well above what he was as a Knicks player. That's great. He's had his best season since he came here. Although this season, significantly less efficient than last season. And I think he shot 54% true shooting this season, whereas he shot 61% the season before. And I think a lot of people have rose-colored glasses of what he was the season before and don't realize how inefficient he really was when he had the ball in his hand more in a bigger role. And with Brandon Ingram coming in, his role has to shift again. And a lot of people have suggested perhaps taking him off the bench, but a guy who's been a starter his whole career, is that going to happen? I think that's something that Darko's floated with the whole Manu Ginobili, you could be Manu Ginobili thing. If RJ accepts that, I think there's room for him on the team, regardless of the contract implications. Now, his contract is one of the reasons why he should be moved, is because he eats up a decent amount. And if you look at the players below him in salary amount, it's not that flattering to RJ. You've got guys like Derek White making less, but there's also a couple players like Devin Vassell who make around the same, but they're in the right role. So you've got kind of a guy who's miscast, making big money, and it pushes the roster to maybe a zone where they shouldn't be financially, with not getting the right kind of production back. He can score 20. Okay. He can score, not doubting that. But is he a positive player? Not so sure. In his entire career, he's never had a positive defensive box plus minus. Last season was his second best since his, I think, sophomore season, but it was still a negative 0.7. He's still not winning his minutes. He was a minus 3.4 points per 100 possessions while he was on. He draws a lot of fouls, but he's a terrible foul shooter. The second he got here, he shoots 63%. He leaves so many points on the board. And when you have a guy who's very high usage, leaving a lot of points on the board, is that what you want if you're trying to be a top 6 team? I think you can look at the other top 6 teams and you look at who their two guard is. You've got Donovan Mitchell, superstar. And then you've got two-way guys like Derek White, Desmond Bain, who's the you've got Josh Hart. All these guys are two-way guys, and we have a two guard who doesn't really play defense. And I think it hurts the overall build makeup of the starting lineup because you've got Quickly who doesn't, I mean, he plays some defense. RJ, who is somewhat of a negative on that end. BI is kind of middle ground. Scotty's a great defender, and Yak is a pretty good defender. Are you going to win your minutes when you have that many holes? So I get people's perspective when they look at it as this guy is leaving points on the board and potentially giving up too many points. He might be the odd man out.
Okay, so I think a lot of people have talked about his contract and how onerous it is, but I think we should put it into perspective because one of the things that needs to be mentioned is that all contracts look very big right now, okay? We're getting into the 30, 40, 50, Devin Booker's contract, 70 million dollars, okay?
Yeah.
Everything needs to be examined from, I mean, everybody has said this at this point, so I'm not saying anything too, groundbreaking, but it has to be looked at as a percentage of the cap. And RJ Barrett, his contract, although it seems big, $27, $28 million a season, that is only 18% of the salary cap. So that is, if you were to take an average starter in the NBA, just let's say if you had a team of all average starters, you would assume that that would be right around where an average starter would be paid, right? Around 1/5 of the salary cap. And when you think about it that way, I don't think his contract is that onerous. The second thing is his age. And I think that this is one thing that a lot of people have kind of written him off in a way that I think is a little too early. And it's not like we're waiting for a guy. It's not like he's averaging 10 points per game and like only a couple of rebounds or something like that. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Is he even an NBA player? No, he's clearly an NBA player at this point. He's a solid 20 point per game player. And although you're correct that his efficiency definitely took a hit last season, I think that what I saw from him last season, where it wasn't just the 3-point shooting, it was also the finishing. And of course, the free throw shooting wasn't that great, but I think he can be more efficient than last season. And it doesn't have to come from the 3-point line. I think that one of his best skills has been his finishing ability, especially in the second half of the last season. I thought that his ability to get to the basket was better than almost anybody else's on the team. And that's one of the things that we have to think about in terms of role, because of course you're correct that there are, he's not the greatest defender, but he does provide something very useful for the Toronto Raptors offense, which is, of course, drawing fouls, which you did mention his free throw shooting isn't that great. But should we be looking necessarily at this new RJ Barrett who can't hit any free throws, or should we be looking at maybe the totality of his career where he has been an okay free throw shooter, like over 75%-ish? So maybe there's some room for, return to the mean there, but I digress. Let me go back to my main point, which is that he puts pressure on the rim. Rim pressure is something that all teams in the NBA need. It is one of the things that I think is a little lacking on the Toronto Raptors. So let's look at the players that we have. Of course, Jakob Poeltl, he can score inside. He is some rim pressure, but he's not a player that's going to be able to penetrate. He is a guy who is going to be finishing plays that other people create for him. Brandon Ingram operates mostly in the mid-range. I think there's going to be more opportunities for him to drive and shoot threes, but let's just say that that's not his forte. Scotty Barnes, I think that he could be a rim pressure player, especially if his handle improves. Emmanuel Quickly is not much of a rim pressure player. I think that he only really gets to the rim on broken plays. And if he gets a really good screen, sometimes he can get into the paint and score that way. But let's be honest, there are not a lot of players that have the handle that RJ has. RJ has a pretty functional handle, and he can use a screen and get into the paint and create for others. And I think that that was one of the biggest things that he brought to the table was the ability to penetrate, the ability to create. I think that that's kind of missing without him. And last but not least, I think when you talk about a trade, what you're saying makes sense. Like, is he the odd man out? Is this guy worth the contract? Is this, like, there's some valid concerns. What I would say is that it depends on what the Raptors are going to get back for him. And is that player going to be as good or as impactful as RJ Barrett? And of course, you could be talking about getting future assets for RJ Barrett, like picks, prospects, that sort of thing. But is that where the Raptors are right now? It's kind of tough to determine whether the Raptors are going to be going all in next season. Maybe not all in is the wrong word, but are they going to be trying to compete? Are they going to be a team that is really putting together a run and trying to make it into the playoffs? If that is the case, taking pennies on the dollar for RJ Barrett or taking a future package for RJ Barrett, maybe that's not the right way to go. Maybe the right way to go is to hang on to him, see what you have. Maybe he can put together a really good season. And maybe then that'll be the time to trade him. Maybe that is the best case for keeping RJ Barrett, is that he could continue to improve. And even the people who don't want him on the team, maybe if he isn't the best fit, maybe later he can have a better return on a trade for him. So that would be my case. Just age, role, how his contract isn't that bad, and also what would they be getting back for him. So that's kind of my case. Any rebuttals?
Yeah, I think points well made, and I do think I agree with the last point, especially of what are we getting back. I think there's maybe one player. I mean, when you look around, there's not a lot of options for it. Who would want him? Who would want him at these? Like, it's not like, oh, who'd want him so bad? No, but his contract number with 2 years left on it. Who really wants that? There's been rumors of the Kings. I think the only player I would really want to do it for in terms of getting a positive value back would be Malik Monk, because as you talked about that rim pressure, Monk provides also that kind of volume with a bit better finishing. He's a bit spotty of a three-point shooter as well, but he's a bit miscast in some of his roles with Sacramento last season. Maybe you can fleece Sacramento out of a guy who's on a cheaper contract, who is a similar age and maybe gives you a bit more flexibility going forward. I could see me being okay with that.
Yeah,
But
but you're a big Kuzma guy, right? You
oh
just
my
love
gosh,
Kuzma. That's the guy you want to
seeing
trade
that
RJ for, right?
they could be in a conversation with the Bucks and the contract that matches is Kyle Kuzma, I almost lost it. Keep Kyle Kuzma away from the team. If you want to compete at any period of time, he's a very negative asset. He's not like the worst player in the world, but like the the Wizards couldn't wait to get off of him. Is that a
No.
guy that you want to bring in? I don't think that that makes any sense. And then the other one I've seen kicked around is, okay, well maybe you take Patrick Williams from Chicago. Patrick Williams is one of the most disappointing players in the league. His
Yeah.
contract is terrible for him just because it's $10 million less than RJ Barrett. He is significantly more damaging player to keep. Yeah, he plays some defense, but he can't shoot. He can't provide anything offensively. I don't know
He'd
how
be a
he,
better fit, I guess, if he reached his ceiling.
yeah, but
But
you've already, at this point, you have a more positive player of Ochai on the team than
yeah,
Patrick Williams. So you would probably end up just being forced to start Ochai instead. So I don't really think that's the point. So trade RJ for anything? No. I think it's a well-made point that there is a chance for him to build up some value, but I do think you have to have that conversation of, okay, well, Brandon Ingram's here. He's going to be the main scorer. We still want to see how much juice to squeeze out of Scotty Barnes as a scorer, so he's probably going to get maybe the second most shots. Quickly's going to be taking the most threes. he's sliding down the usage chart, and he
Right.
has to be okay with that. But he's always been a good teammate, so I think that that might not be a no-go for him. Um, so I mean, maybe that conversation goes okay. Darko is a very good people person.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, he's a bit soft on some players, some people would argue, but I do think that maybe he can get that buy-in from RJ, who has always bought into everything the teams wanted to do, and he's never had an attitude about stuff like not getting promoted for All-Star when he was playing the best of his career, that kind of stuff. So hopefully that works out, because I don't know if I see a package right now to move him.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of reasons to move him. And if a package comes across, I think you take it, one that makes sense. Like if it comes even for maybe, I don't really like the expiring route because it's the Raptors, it's really hard to get free agents.
Yeah.
And I don't think, unless basically to take an expiring for him, you would have to see so much out of Jacoby or Grady. You'd
Right.
have to see them come in and go, look, I'm a starter for sure. Grady's defense would have to come along, or Jacoby's offense would have to come along a good amount. And you go, okay, I can start one of these guys. I had no problem getting off of this contract to get a bit more flexibility going forward so they can do some of the interesting stuff that other teams do where they take a bit of a contract to get a pick and all that stuff that the Raptors are prohibited from because they paid quickly too much and RJ makes a bit too much.
Yeah, that's a good point about. I mean, I think that's one of the ways that outside observers do not understand the Raptors situation is that a lot of the time they look at the dollars and they say, okay, this guy is overpaid. They have to get off of the contract. And what the Raptors have always tried to do is get players who are, well, I mean, they didn't do it with Ingram or with Jakob Poeltl, where they got them on the last year of their deal, but it was always with a wink and a nod that these guys are going to be extended and get the money that they're looking for with the Toronto Raptors. I think there are some under the table deals there going on, like, is this person going to resign with us? But they all outside observers think that the Toronto Raptors should be trying to shed salaries rather than spinning salaries, which is what I call it churn. Maybe you take on a deal, you try and make it work. If it's not working, you don't want to necessarily trade them for a guy that's going to expire, because what are you going to do with the money? What you're going to try and do is make a trade for a player that you can give a contract to or already is on a contract. So I think that that's an important thing to think about, is that, you know, when you're thinking about an RJ deal, you're going to be looking for somebody who you're going to be able to pay and maybe fits maybe a little bit better than RJ. But one of the things, I think you mentioned it right off of the bat, RJ Barrett is like just really seems like a really sweet guy, like a really nice guy. And obviously this team is a vibes based team. Like, obviously they've got dogs, they've got hungry guys. Scotty is kind of the face of that. Like, on one hand, he's really like approachable, friendly, really kind of gregarious and happy. But when you see him on the court, like, the guy has that switch, the flip the switch where he could get extremely aggressive and you know, have that dog. And RJ, I think, has a little bit of that as well. I think that he has that kind of killer, maybe not killer instinct on the court, but he does have some fire. And then off the court, he seems like a great fit with the other guys. There's no bad apples. And I think that, I mean, if you were to trade him for a guy like Kyle Kuzma, who seemed like, as soon as Kyle Kuzma was traded off of the Washington Wizards, the vibes immediately went through the roof. Like, replacing him with two really good, like, nice, solid veterans, Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart. Like, they really took off in terms of sort of the vibes. And even Poole, who's not there anymore, he looked pretty good in Kyle Kuzma's absence as well. So I don't want anything to do with Kyle Kuzma. Sorry to anybody who's watching who's a big fan, but
No, definitely. And like I do think that there's importance to finally starting to have some consistency with the group. I realized the other day, because Chris Boucher it will not be returning to the team in all likelihood. That was somebody that Scotty had just become best friends with. And the year before, he was best friends with Precious and best friends with OG. And I was like, oh my gosh, they keep trading all away and getting rid of all his best friends. So it'd be nice for the group to have some cohesiveness. And I
Right.
mean, like, obviously, RJ brings some of that, but you have to get more out of him on the defensive end. And like I said,
Absolutely.
his defensive blocks plus minus improved last year than it was before. He film wise, there were some moments of better play. He still gets stuck in between of do I press up too much or do I drop too much, and then they just hit threes over him
The,
they just hit jumpers over him because he doesn't trust his footwork with them, and like he doesn't want to play too far up. I hope
the
that
big thing on defense for me, at least with RJ, has been the off-ball awareness. So as you're saying, like he has some flaws one-on-one, or like when his man has the ball. But I think he's an okay defender when his man has the ball, because then he's locked in. Like the assignment is clear. It's just don't get beat.
and
When
he's
he,
strong, he's athletic, he
right.
can, yeah.
He's a substantial guy. Like he's not a shrimp. So he can get in the way of players, and his foot speed is lateral foot speed is pretty good. The problem that I found is that he naps off ball. He ball watches. Gets beat backdoor. Guys will come off of a screen, and his screen navigation isn't very good. So, like, that definitely is something that is worrying, and I'm not sure if he's going to get, like, a whole lot better. But if you noticed some improvement there, gives me a little bit of hope that maybe as time goes on, he'll work out the kinks in his game, and hopefully, you know, it seems more and more like I know we're debating this right now. The offseason has been going on for about a month now. It looks like he's going to be on the team next season. What would you say? Like, I would say that maybe 20% he gets traded. Whereas before the offseason started, I was probably over 50%. I would say like 50, 60% that he would not be on the team next year. Looks more and more likely that they're just going to kind of
Yeah.
have this core moving forward.
Yeah, I was expecting if anything something would happen pre-draft, and when it didn't, I was like, okay, he's probably on the roster for next year. And if they need to really get off the salary by the deadline, then they'll cobble something together maybe, if they can move him. But to get, everybody's like, oh, the tax, they'll be able to get under it maybe by Ochai or maybe by Temple and somebody else. Like they're not too far off to have to do something like that, that it doesn't have to be moving out RJ's whatever 28 million. And maybe he ends up having more value as an expiring. I can't really see it. I don't know. Um, but at some point you kind of realize that he, at least maybe how the front office saw it, was he was a sweetener in the OG trade that maybe they really wanted,
A
because they
flyer.
seem to be, yeah, and they seem to be really high on quickly with the amount of money they paid him. They seem to think
Yeah.
this is really the prize. So if he's a flyer, a lot of other teams take these flyers and don't get the kind of flack that the Raptors are right now with
Mm-hmm.
the way that they've done this. Other teams are comfortable paying guys, you know, 25 million, 27 million. It's not that different for a guy who is like Portland paid Jeremy Grant about that contract for all this time to pay 20, 30, play 20, 30 games a year and
Yeah.
have no value at the end of it. I don't want to be compared to Portland. Nobody cares because nobody really cares about Portland ever since Dame's been gone.
Damn.
It's just
It's
the
true.
honest truth is that
Yeah. Sorry,
I
Portland
think
fans.
I think there's a lot to love about that team, and they've got some exciting stuff going on. Hanson Yang is looking like
Yeah, he looks
just
sick.
yeah, and he might be the future of the team. But I think once Scoot stumbled out of the gate, a lot of people tuned out and said,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, where's the ceiling going to be if they're, kind of star that they were banking on
mhm,
didn't really pan out the way that they thought they would? But, they're building something over there. I'm not too unhappy with what they're doing. But yeah, you're right. It's like one of the things about RJ, I think that you could say is that the the results that we're getting right now, I would say, just brutally honest, aren't good enough. But with that said, with his age and with some of the glimpses that I've seen in terms of the finishing, the shooting is obviously one of the things that took a jump when he first got here and was okay last season, but wasn't where it was the season prior to that. But the one thing that I was really impressed with was his passing. And I think that if he's able to iron out the defense and get back to finishing at a high level around the basket, I think he could be a good player for the Toronto Raptors. And I'm not willing to give up on him just yet. I think that there's definitely some runway left with RJ, and I'm pretty intrigued to see how it pans out, especially if he is with the team next season. In any case, that kind of wraps things up around here. I'm always really interested to hear what the viewers have to say about, podcast number one, what they think about it, and number two, what they think about the Raptors, because there's been a lot of really exciting things. And thankfully, I talked to Bobby and I talked to Adam Silver, made sure that the scheduling for the Toronto Raptors wouldn't interfere with the Monday at 8:30 podcast time. So thank you, Bobby and Adam. I know you're watching, but yeah, let us know how the podcast goes. Let us know what you think about the Toronto Raptors Summer League team. Anything you want to say, Steve, before we sign off here?
As always, thanks to everybody who come and hang out with us while we do this. Again, it's new for us, and we're trying to improve every time. So feedback is appreciated, but more so, just appreciate you being here. Thank you.
All right, cheers with that. We will see you next week.